Morning, afternoon, beautiful creative souls, and welcome back to a special episode of Chakra-Care for the creative soul. Hands on heart, I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you in beautiful sunny Cozumel on the Lionsgate portal this year in 2026 when we've got not just the regular 8-8, but we've got an extra 8 with it being 2026. So this is the energy of the Trinity. And my heart has called this show forward to you today. And I've got some really beautiful moments to share with you today. This morning, I was magnetically called back into the jungle, into the temple of Ixchel at San Gervasio in Cozumel. I've been going there making a pilgrimage to the temple of Ixchel, the fertility goddess, the moon goddess, goddess of weaving, goddess of beekeeping, goddess of writing, actually. I finished writing my book here in Cozumel many moons ago because I've been making this pilgrimage for 23 years now for a multitude of reasons. And since my very first year, 23 years ago, 2 plus the 3, the 2, the duality, and the 3, the Trinity, 23 years ago, together makes the 5, which is change, big change. It's also the throat chakra. It's about creative expression. And it's also, as I'm going to share with you today, about listening, full body listening. And I'm noticing my throat is getting a little raspy right before the show. So I've got a little glass of water here, so I might be taking a few sips. I think there's still stuff clearing too, as there is for a lot of us right now around the throat chakra and the sacral chakra and even the solar plexus. So, hand on heart, and I invite you to place one hand on your heart, one on your solar plexus right now, because the topic for today's show is creative coherence beyond manifesting. You know, around the Lionsgate, I don't watch too much on YouTube about the Lionsgate. In fact, I really haven't watched anything specifically about the Lionsgate intentionally this year because I've really been guided to listen to myself more. And I recently had a conversation with a dear friend who I could feel the tension between the polarity of what's going on out there in the world that also shows up in our relationships. And that is that, you know, we're so often encouraged to look outside of ourselves for answers. And it's not even that, you know, we have this need to be helpful to other people, to fix things, to ask people for their opinions and their advice. And there's absolutely a place for that. There's absolutely a place for saying, guide me, help me, you know, even with, you know, our connection to our divine connections, our spirit guides, our angels, ascended masters, whoever you work with. At the end of the day, though, what I really want to emphasize right now, at least what I've been noticing for myself, and only take it if it resonates for you, is that with everything speeding up in the world, the one thing that's been so easy to slip into myself and from other people I've talked to, this has been a pattern for them as well too, is to give our power away to, when I call it noise, hand on heart again, we learn in relationship, we grow in relationship. I don't want to minimize that in any way intentionally. I want to just restore a balance, an equilibrium between everything that might be pulling at you out there, you know, and noticing the relationship that you have to that. Like, is it meaning that you are dismissing your own inner knowing, downplaying your intuitive hits, or not listening to them as much as you want to even? Because I know in my own journey, there have been moments where I have really wanted, I've yearned to have that connection, that intuitive connection. And because life has gotten so busy outside of me and there are only so many hours in a day, what I noticed that was starting to happen was that I was letting that connection to my inner knowing, that my intuition, my instincts, my imagination, creativity, it was getting a little siphoned off. And so this is what today's show is all about, because when we're manifesting, you know, there are going to be so many rituals out there that you can possibly try. And oftentimes that's the first place we look, outside of ourselves. Tell me the steps I need to take. Tell me what I need to do so it will work, right? And I've been there. I bought that t-shirt a million times and I'm grateful. Those were steps along my journey. When I started getting back into Reiki in a deeper way, I guess, gosh, I'm losing track of time now. I'm going to say, well, it was before the pandemic for sure. It's like BP or AP, you know. When I dove deeper into Reiki the second time and I studied it for 3 years, one of the most profound blessings I received from the teacher I worked with, who was amazing, was that when I was working in a session, she encouraged light language to come through. She encouraged me to speak as well as just do the hand patterns and to listen, listen to what was coming through, and then discern what was in the highest, most aligned and guided way to serve that person that I was supporting for their highest good and their intention to heal. Was it necessary at that moment that it came through me? Was I to sit with it? Was more to come through? Was I to share an aspect of it, all of it, some of it? Or was it to be shared after the session or not even at all? And I practiced on so many clients. I also did my certification with the Reiki Association of Canada, which meant another 24 case studies. So it was a beautiful way to really begin to value that intuitive connection, because of course when I would share it with a client, when I felt guided that it was the right time to do so, the confirmation it offered them and the meaning that they shared with me that it had for them helped me to see things that didn't particularly have any specific meaning to me until after I shared with them, and I could receive the meaning in the message for them that was very specific for them. And so from there unfolded this beautiful inner journey of trusting myself more and trusting what was coming through me more as a vessel, as a pure vessel, a conduit, if you will, to receive messages. And since then, I've done intuitive sessions, and not because I've put myself out there as someone who does intuitive sessions, but I've had people come to me and ask me about that. And what has come through has been surprising and delightful, even for me, because I just trusted that if I was being asked, it must be because I'm ready. And so this is where I'm going to invite you today to create that space and to set that intention that I'm here and I'm ready and I'm open. Because when you give yourself that space, even the fact that you're drawn to watching this show now or on the replay, even if it's after the Lion's Gate, what I really want you to do is give yourself that space. No matter what the mind of form says, because it's going to come in with all kinds of, reasons why and rationalizations why other things are more important. What could be more important, hand on heart again, than listening to your intuitive knowing? You're trusting yourself more. Okay, this is the foundation as I see it for manifestation. Because it can be so easy for us to give our power away to something I say to you or something somebody else says to you. And today on the 888 portal, there's so much to unpack today. I'm going to try to get to the highlights because I could be here a long time talk intuitively. Is first and foremost, what I'm being guided to share right now is that when you're wanting to manifest something, it starts with embodying a frequency, a spaciousness within that is a resonant match for what it is you say you most want to co-create out there in the world. It's not about techniques. It's not about the right words. It's about the frequency, and it's about the coherence field that you cultivate within. And of course, there are sometimes what people call as counter intentions that can run and null and void your conscious intentions. I sometimes feel it as inner resistance in myself, and I'm going to just paint a little picture about that in a concrete way today. I started getting the intuitive hit, the knowing that I was meant to go back to San Gervasio, the Mayan ruin site here on the beautiful island of Cozumel. And I love visiting San Gervasio. And my mind was ready to give me so many reasons why not to go back there. And they made a lot of sense to my mind to form. That opened me up to the fact that I wanted to really feel connected to my heart, and let my heart be louder than my head in this instance, because my heart is my connection to my intuition. It's my connection to my cosmic creativity, and to love, and to trust. So that resistance came up in a very conscious way. I could recognize the thoughts about the cost, about the heat, because I'd been in the heat yesterday. And, just getting there and getting back. And my mind even went to places, because there was one time when I was there visiting the Temple of Ishal where I got cankles because I was stung by an insect that I didn't recognize. And so there were these multitudes of rationalizations why not to go back. And I witnessed them all from a very neutral place inside of me. I could feel that tension inside of me between my head and my heart. Call those two poles, right? Because sometimes we tend to separate them out. And I listened to how I felt in my body when I said yes and when I said no. And yes expanded me and the no contracted me. It was that simple. And I wanted to honor my yes, because when we honor our yes, when it's a full body yes, it will quiet the mind to form down as we take passionate action. If we only sit in the full body yes, oh my goodness, my throat's really getting congested today. Then what will happen is we will slide back into the mind of form. Okay, so I headed out to San Gervasio to honor the beautiful goddess Ishal, who I adore so much, on the beautiful island of Cozumel. And I got a round trip taxi there. And when I went there, it was interesting. The universe will offer us tests in terms of where are we putting our attention. And again, I want to bring this right down to earth. This is lived spirituality. The moment by moment micro decisions we make and choices and how they align with what we say we want. And when we notice that we're making or being tempted to veer off on other angles into choices that are not as aligned, it's about really listening to our bodies and noticing what we're noticing. So I had a wonderful taxi driver, very friendly, got to practice my Spanish, even talk about Mayan. and really beautiful frequency and energy. When we arrived there and I walked in, very warm, welcoming people there. And then at one moment, there was someone, as I was about to pay my second entrance in from the park, who was very friendly, very kind, very sweet person. And at the same time, he was excited to share all of his information and knowledge with me about San Gervasio. And I love to learn. I love information. It's my rabbit hole. I know this about myself. And the fee to get there with a round trip taxi, and then the fee to enter the park, which I'm more than happy to pay. This additional fee, I felt this resistance in my body. At first, I wanted to say yes to it because I love to soak up information. And then I had to reorient myself within and just say, wait, I'm here actually to be quiet, to be still, to be present, to listen. And as much as I could be listening to him and his knowledge and his information, what I feel right now is it didn't need more information. I needed more presence. And I feel this is something I want to share because for a lot of us right now, when we look outside of ourselves for answers, myself included, it's often for more information, even, turning to AI or other things like that. We are living in an information age on steroids. What we need is more listening. And yes, we can listen to other people's information, other people's ideas, and there's a time and a place for that. Today, I knew the time and place was to really honor that sacred feminine energy of listening to the subtle vibrations that speak to us, is how I'm being guided to say it right now. To listen to the wind, to listen to the bird song, to listen to the insects, to listen with all of my pores open with presence outside of the mind of form. And so I invite you to consider how you choose to listen today and how it guides you. So once I honored that clarity inside of myself, I felt this expansiveness just open up inside of me. I walked along Sac Bay 3 all the way, which is the white path, which used to be one of the trade routes. And I know the way so well to the Temple of Ishal. And while it's open to the public, I've also had the blessing of being able to journey into the jungle just beside San Gervasio and see an even more expansive location dedicated to the goddess. I honored the fact that I was there today in this space. And I noticed as I was walking the path to her temple, I noticed how it wasn't out in the open area with some of the other ruins. And I noticed that the walk itself was a moment to walk and let go of fear. It was like a birth canal. It was a chance to move from, the sort of third dimension into an expanded multidimensional presence, sensations, and beyond. As I walked along quietly, and I really set the intention to connect with the natural world around me. It's such a beautiful path. And when I got to the clearing, there were some other tourists there, so I hung back a little while just because I wanted to be there and be able to be quiet. They were very friendly. They offered to take a picture of me. I said yes and said hi to them with their guide. And then once I had a moment to just be in the space, I'm going to share with you a little video clip. And I invite you because I had this reflection post my experience at the Temple of Ishal. And it was, I love that people are still visiting sacred sites. I love that people visit ruins, especially in the Yucatan and other places like that. And at the same time, what happens is and you can't make this stuff up. I just want to share the lens through which I was experiencing this all today, because I just know that there's going to be something in it for you today. It's kind of a parable, if you will. I'm feeling guided to share with you. And that is that And then I have a download that came through when I was at the temple. I'm going to be sharing that with you in a moment too. It's just that the traditional way these days in our modern world is to go through one of these sites with a guide and learn information, and then take a picture, buy a souvenir, and head on your way. I chose a different experience there today, as I often do. I chose to go there and be quiet and listen and invite the frequency of being in that sacred site to actually be sacred, to allow the mind to form, to relax, and to be open to receiving in sacred feminine energy the value of it all, without judgment, without expectation, without need, just pure openness, pure open-heartedness. So I'm going to share something with you because I'm going to invite you to have a little bit of a moment yourself. It's just a very brief moment, because there's a sound back here. There's a frequency in the bird song, and I want you to have the opportunity to experience a taste of it too. So I'm just going to take a moment and share this with you. And I'm going to invite you to place your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath in, and then just receive. You know, that was one of the gifts. And birds speak in frequencies. The mind of form doesn't understand what the birds are saying, right? It doesn't speak bird, but our heart feels it. Our body feels it. Our energy field feels it. We can listen and feel into a felt sense of a vibration that speaks multitudes to us. And the beauty of these attunements from nature is it reconnects us with our own divine nature, our own capacity to listen, to receive. It's an entrainment. And this is a very important part. The foundation for going beyond manifesting is this creative foundation. It is that attunement, that alignment. Really, it's an attunement with a frequency of harmony, inner harmony, where you're in this inner spaciousness where everything is valuable, everything is infinite, everything is available, and there's no hierarchy of something being more or less important. It's just this beautiful neutrality and open receptivity, and it's embodied. That is the foundation for your creativity, for trusting yourself more, for listening to what the next right and perfect steps are for you if you feel guided to do a ritual today. Before ritual comes coherence. Without coherence, there's no ritual that's ever going to make a difference. And I'm sorry if that's like a squirt of lemon juice in the eye. It's just been my experience. Take it or leave it. When we are in that coherent place, that's where we create from. And that's where we're guided. And you may very well be guided to follow something out there that someone's leading you through. Trust that. If it starts from a place of that inner coherence, that inner attunement, that inner harmony. Because this alignment today, where Sirius is closest to our sun, is because Sirius is almost like the mother of our sun. Sirius is a dwarf star, and it's so small that modern day microscopes, it's hard for them to perceive it. And yet there have been people on this earth 60 years before, like the Dogons, who were able to describe it as, in their language, as being like a tiny seed a tiny seed of profound light. And it's literally the sun behind our sun. This is why it is the mother of all creation is what Sirius is. It's a mother, and we have as human beings on this planet, on Earth, a direct entrainment with the planet Sirius. Sirius is very much entraining us, if we're open to listening, to a harmonic frequency that is always available to us. So harmony and creativity go hand in hand. It's an attunement. And today, that's what I feel guided to share with you is if you really want to call in your heart's and soul's desires, it starts with creative coherence. And that coherence is stabilizing a field. And I've got a download that I'm going to share with you in a moment that came through when I was at the temple today that is very much about field maintenance. And when I say field maintenance, I mean your energetic field. Because your energetic field is what holds everything that looks three-dimensional in place. Your thoughts, your emotions, your physical body, the things that seem most real and most you. And yet that field ripples out far beyond you and interconnects even galactically and cosmically with other fields. And today, if you're willing to be open and listen, there is a harmonic string that's being strung, is how I'm feeling guided to share it, between Sirius and Earth via the sun. It's like when someone plays a violin in a room with a piano on the other side, and then the strings in the piano vibrate. This is the entrainment, right? And so I invite you today to sit and be quiet and really listen, breathe in and out. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and breathe out for 8. And just repeat that a few times and feel into your heart. Allow your body to relax and really breathe in the knowing that your birthright is divinely creative. We came here to remember that. Anyways, I'm feeling guided right now to share the download that came through at our temple today. And it was amazing. As I was walking to the temple, I knew I had permission because I have visited her temple many, many times. And in all truth, I've been shy about ever asking if I can do a download, receive light language or anything like that. And today, a blue morpho flew by. I asked for a sign on a soul level, and a blue morpho, which is a blue Mariposa blue butterfly, flew by. And that has always been my sign that I have been granted permission and that it's a blessing. How do I know that to be true? I'm going to give you a brief backstory because, again, I hope in sharing my story, it will help you to trust following your own breadcrumbs just that much more. Again, pre-pandemic, I was working with a Canadian group down here. And on the last weekend I was here, the place where we were staying, the head waiter asked me if I was going to go souvenir shopping. And I said, no, I'm actually going to San Gervasio and to pay homage to the goddess Ishel. And he said, if you go, there's a guide who's been working there for 20 years. You should meet him. And he spoke Mayan himself. The head waiters did a lot of the staff at the hotel where we were staying. And they knew I was learning some Yucatec Mayan at the local museum. So they would, in the morning explain, the different things on the table and give me the way to say them in Mayan. And so, aligned with the way I often feel down here, which is the beauty of being on this beautiful island, is that it's been like a fable for adults, as I like to describe it, because it's the one place where my intuition is so amplified that I remember when he mentioned, "You've got to meet this guy," and I said, "Okay, I will." And I didn't ask him, what is his name? What does he look like? When will he be there? None of those logical, linear, sequential things that most people would consider pretty grounded to do. I just trusted and knew. How? It wasn't a decision. It just was. It just is. That moment was truth. I headed off to San Gervasio that year, and as I walked into the sort of first section and area, I started to walk towards one of the ruins that had a thatch roof, and there was a gentleman there with a big stick, and he was poking it. I don't know if he was fixing it or what he was doing. And I said to him, "Bishbel." And he looked at me. He stared into my eyes for the longest, what felt like the longest moment. And then I said, "Ik heb a Pollyanna." And he said, shared his name too. And then we exchanged a few more words in Mayan. I don't have very much Mayan. I'm a very humble beginner of Yucatec Mayan, although I one day would love to be fluent. And at that moment in time, it was the deep eye gazing and the trust in that. At that moment in time, he shifted into Spanish. I said I didn't have much Mayan. And even at that point, my Spanish was still very much a work in progress. He ended up walking with me over to the Temple Vishal, telling me stories about some of the extraordinary things that have happened there at night. And as I approached the Temple of Ishal, I was a bit shy because I had a rose quartz heart that I wanted to leave as an offering, but I thought maybe that's my ego. Maybe it's just a tourist thing that people think they should do this. And I kind of got all up in my head about it. But when he saw that I had the rose quartz heart, he said to me, "Would you like to place it on the temple?" I said, "I'd love to." And he allowed me to climb the temple. I was deeply touched. I didn't want to disturb anything. He allowed me. It's not typical that you're allowed to climb the temple. It's, as you'll see in the video today, or the picture I'm going to share with you, it's roped off. And to be honest, climbing heights are not usually my thing. Not that it's super high, but it's more the getting down. I just said yes. It was a full body yes. My mind was so calm and so neutral. I handed him my purse. I handed him everything. And I just proceeded to climb the stairs of this Temple Ishal. And about halfway up, I received a listening to place the heart right there. And then as I proceeded to climb to the top of the temple, I was guided to sit there and ask for a sign. And the sign was a blue mariposa azul, a blue morpho. And that didn't necessarily mean anything specifically to me in that moment. I just trusted it. Fast forward, I met a Mayan artist on the island through the museum who offered to take me and a friend into the jungle. And I went in with him that year with another good friend of mine, and then a few more times after that, because the trust was established, the purity of heart, pure-heartedness was established, and the pure intentions were established. And the other times he took me into the jungle to see other very sacred sites that are not open to the public. There were so many blue morphos around the pickup truck that we were driving in part of the way into the jungle. With the rest of it, we walked through and made our way, sometimes needing to use a machete to cut through. And the reason I feel guided to share all of that with you is that when I say that the mind of form really will wanna like mess with you a little, like it's gonna wanna like complicate things. I have lived this, and This is my docking station on earth. When I come back here and I really listen, not just think I'm listening or be on vacation mode, but like really relax into a deeper state of presence and listen to my own unique, um, harmony and soul song. Because if I try to explain it to other people out here, it may or may not make sense to them. And then I got that interference energy coming at me and maybe taking me back into my head or into a less neutral place inside of myself where I'm less open and more confused. I really guard that inner knowing, that integrity, that authenticity, that alignment, that harmony as sacred, right? So I invite you to do the same today. This is a day to remember your birthright is creative. And on that note, I feel guided now to share with you what came through when I was standing at the site. I saw the blue morphle. I felt such a harmonic frequency when I was there to be able to ask permission, state my intention, and give thanks for the opportunity to do that. I laid down an offering, which actually I'm going to share that image with you. No, I'm going to share the download with you first, and I'll show the image of the offering, and then what I saw after that. I didn't download a picture of that. That's okay, but I can describe it to you. There were signs. When we listen, there are signs in nature that are guiding us, and the modern mind will dismiss those out of sight so easily. And yet they're all little activation nodules, because remember, everything's interconnected. They're little like nodes in the interconnectedness that if we listen and we honor them and we receive the gifts in them, then they're attunements. They're beautiful gifts of soul and heart. Okay, so here we go. This is what came through today. Thank you for letting me share this with you today. Today, on the 8-8 Lionsgate portal, my heart called me to visit Ishal's temple here in Cozumel. And as I'm here and the wind is blowing and I can feel the frequency of the bird song and the wind speaking, there's a very simple message that I'm being asked to share with all of you today. It's time, out time. It's time, out time. It's time outside of time. To live outside of duality in coherence. Today in the Trinity energies, today you form the Trinity with the duality. The tension between the two poles is stabilized by the third pole, which is you. You are the stabilizer, you are the coherence that harmonizes those two poles, that allows the tension, or what we like to call the tension between the two poles, to harmonize, to flow, rather than to fight one another. It is time to begin to step upwards to the light of your inner truth, where you will find your coherence. It's the time to honor your inner harmony. That is the only work right now, is to restore harmony within. Harmony nourishes coherence. Coherence nourishes stability. This is the message Ishal wants me to share with you. Today, we have not just the 8-8 portal. Because of it being 2026, we have an additional 8 energy in there. So it is the energy of the Trinity. The Zolkin calendar, too, today is the energy of the Trinity. It is not about separation. It is not about being separate in distinct poles. It is about being one stabilizing expression with multiple expressions within that stabilizing expression. As you honor each, as you revibrate with each, and you allow your truth to entrain you to the light of your being, to the sun within. And the way to do that is to also rebirth through the moon of your darkness, to allow the darkness to be a place of rest and regeneration and restoration, so that as you rebirth, you re-arise. Your journey is no different than the cosmic journey of rising, descending, and then rising again. This is the cycle we're all in collectively. And now it's time to recognize it so we can rise and remember. Rise and remember. Rise and remember that this deep dive was a dive into vibration, into learning how to discern vibrational harmonies, frequencies, and coherence from that which is not, so that you can become your own tuning fork and you can remember your true source, which is matter, which is mother. We all come from mother, even the cosmic creative energy itself, and the sun behind the sun. Be well, beautiful, creative souls. There you have it. And there's a little bit of light language that wants to come through just to anchor that for all of you. This has never come through on my show before. Yurira, ruwawarira, rura, norira, norarira, yorira, rira, rura, rira, yarira, yararu, 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 yorira, yarira, oru, yarira, nari. Yeah, it comes through in Reiki sessions. It hasn't come through in a long time. I am grateful. You know, today, hands on heart. Oh, I'm going to share with you too an image while I'm sharing with you hands on heart here. There. And just put my glasses on to do this too, so I pulled the right image that I want to share with you for what we're talking about today. Yeah, here we go. So what came through me so loudly, I'm just gonna, I'll share this as a close-up in just a moment. I've left offerings before at the Temple of Vishal. And what was really different about this year's offering, and again, this is about listening and trusting, because before I came down, I was at a crystal shop just outside of Toronto, and I got a really clear message to bring twin crystals. And I was like, okay, yes, let's do it. And so I brought down these two sort of egg-shaped oblong morganite crystals. I've left morganite pieces. I often feel guided to leave morganite. It's universal divine love is the frequency of morganite. I love to wear morganite. I usually wear morganite almost every day. And it's just such a high frequency. It's the higher heart. It's the collective heart. of humanity right now, that it speaks to that unconditional love that we really want to anchor here on this earth right now, that so many of us, all the work, beautiful work that you're doing as a light worker, you're doing it. Thank you so much, from my heart to yours. So the two morganite crystals, I'm going to do a close up here. So this is, you can see on the left hand side is the stairway up that I climbed years ago to sit at the top of her temple. And then there's almost like this, on the right-hand side, you can see a close-up of where I left the two morganite crystals. And in all truth, after I attuned and gave thanks and stated my intention and all that, I felt very, very strongly guided to leave them inside that area, out of, like, hidden in plain sight. Because to someone passing by, what was shared with me is they just be another object to take. And they're not meant to be taken. They're meant to be placed and received and held. And so I really, really felt guided to share this today, because I could have kept it private. And I asked myself, why am I feeling guided to share it? Is it because it's not about, oh, look at what I did, or, it's because through all of everything I've been sharing today, it's about us trusting ourselves and trusting our intuition and trusting our instincts and listening in presence. And how do we even interact at sacred sites respectfully? I asked for permission. I asked for a sign, the blue morpho. I listened. I didn't do anything without asking permission first. And and I have, received no's before, and I've honored them. And I feel like this is, sacred sites can teach us a lot about, they're mirrors, right? Coherence fields that entrain us to a higher field inside of ourselves if we are willing to meet them from that dimension of expression. And when we give ourselves the gift of showing up for these sacred sites in this way, not as objects or information, as attunements and as frequency fields that we're connecting with, we're having a respectful interaction with, an attunement, a soulful presence with, they remind us how to live our truth from that coherent place. And as I was leaving that site, it was really interesting, because what happened was, I'm just going to take the picture down now. What happened was, I felt guided to stand on the east side of her pyramid, and I shed a few tears. There was this beautiful, cool breeze, and on the right-hand side, there had been a yellow butterfly, Mario Mariposa, and on the right side as well too, which felt like very balanced. And as I was walking out later on, and I listened to some bird song, there was a third one, and the Trinity energy, the yellow, the solar plexus, our identity. How do we see ourselves, and how do we see the world around us? Because how we see ourselves is how we're going to see the world around us, right? And when I was standing on that side, a beautiful gray iguana appeared. And a lot of iguanas tend to be a little skittish, but this one was super chill. He was just hanging out. And at one point, I listened. It was like he blew air into his lungs, and he, like, these big round globule kind of things on his throat chakra. And I could see his heart beating. And so I set the intention to attune and to breathe with him, to, like, And I would notice that his breath would be even and then it would speed up. I sensed he was going into fear, although he was very still, he was in freeze mode. So then I set the intention to breathe with him and to hold like a breath coherence with him. And I noticed his breathing started to become a little more consistent. Not 100%, but more consistent. It wasn't like slow, slow, fast, 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 slow, slow, fast, 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 which is what it was the rhythm in the beginning. But it started to equalize a little bit more. And I took some video footage and photographs of him too, just to anchor that moment in my own, archive of memories. It was just such a powerful moment. And then as I was walking out at a certain point along her path, there was this beautiful bird that had a really unique sound, and it was quite insistent. And I listened to it. I asked it, what is it you were wanting to share with me? And again, it wasn't that I needed the words. I just needed the vibration and the feeling, and I received it. And then that's when that little yellow butterfly flew by me again, the complete the Trinity. And I knew that it was complete. Everything was sealed. It was complete. So I share today's journey with you to invite you to embrace your own journey inwards, wherever it is. Remember, we live in a quantum universe and we can travel outside of time and space anytime we want to, and listen, 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 listen with every pore of your being and trust yourself more. On this Lionsgate 888 portal, I'm wishing you so many blessings, so much creative coherence, and infinite creative possibilities in your life. You were not here by accident, you're here on purpose. And something's wanting to come through right now about the twin energy, and it's not coming through super clearly. I'm just going to sit with it for just a second because there's something they're wanting me to share to anchor everything today about the twins. Because because Sirius is very much about twin energy and it's about entrainment. I guess they're inviting you to sit with the twins for yourself. What I would say this is that duality inside of us is meant to be harmonized so we can return to the oneness. And just know that as within, so without, according to hermeneutic laws. So the twinning within you, there's also the mirror of Sirius right now. And today things are amplified. So Sirius, the sun behind the sun, our sun, holds that perfect twin energy, that perfect sacred union, that beautiful wholeness. Just allow yourself to receive. Allow yourself to receive that gift. As I was walking back out of the park to meet my taxi driver, I walked feeling lighter, brighter, and receiving the gifts that I couldn't buy in any gift shop. It's such a different frequency. The gifts of grace, of the wind spoke to me. It cooled my body down. I had such a comfortable temperature in the jungle there. The Mariposa Azul for the blessing and the sign, the 3 yellow mariposas, the iguana, and even that's another video. If you have a Lemurian crystal today and you can read codes, I encourage you to work with them this month. I asked Ishel to guide me with the 2 Lemurian crystals I was guided to bring down here. I have a 3rd one at home in Canada. And I received a lot of interesting downloads about how to best connect with and create with and from them. And I also blessed a beautiful icon of hers that I will not show on video. So we have this material world that we're in, I invite you today to infuse the sacred into the things you often maybe the material distracts you from, and to then infuse that into the material that's in your life with gratitude. Okay, that feels complete now. In Lakach Alakeen, I'm another you and you are another me. Be well, beautiful, creative soul. Lots of love and light. Oh, and I'm just going to actually, before I go, there's someone in the chat here. Oh my goodness. I'm going to just take a peek here. I was almost going to go and I saw someone in the chat. Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for popping in. Okay, beautiful, beautiful soul. Steph was just sharing with me today that she'd done some nature walks with some light language. So I'm going to be checking out her light language on her nature walks today too. Thank you, beautiful Steph. Okay, on that note, that feels really complete now. You know, I invite you to drop a comment below if you feel guided to do so about how you've invited more of the sacred into your life today on the 888 portal, how you've anchored your creative coherence, and you can even, if you want us to witness and bless, and I say us because I'm thinking of beautiful goddess Ishel, what your heart and soul is calling forward in terms of energies rather than things. What energies are you calling forward in your life? Feel free to drop them below in the chat. I read all the comments, and I'd love to amplify your intentions with the infinite creative abundance I've so generously received today from Spirit to bless your abundance as well too. Lots of love and light, beautiful creative soul. Be well.